start with breaking news in the case of the murdered health insurance CEO in New York City last week. Police are now questioning a man in Pennsylvania in connection with the killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. CNN's Bryn Gingras and John Miller join me now from New York. Bryn, I'm going to start with you. What do we know?
So we know right now, Dana, that there is someone that is being questioned by investigators right now in Altoona, Pennsylvania. This person is 26 years old, according to sources telling John Miller. We've learned that they actually got a tip from someone at a nearby McDonald's in that area who said, hey, this guy looks like the person that's in all those photos that have been circulating. And that's how he was brought in for further questioning. And in doing so, according to sources telling John, that they found a lot of evidence that could point in the right investigation for authorities at this point. They found a gun that resembles the one that was used in the murder last Wednesday. They found a suppressor, which is basically another word for a silencer. It muffles the sound of a gunshot. We know that was also used in the killing on Wednesday. And they found a number of fake IDs with this person. One of those, according to sources, the NYPD does believe was used here in New York City. Now, also, if you remember, we reported that investigators believed their person who was responsible for this killing used a fake ID to check into a hostel in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. So it's possible that is one of those fake IDs. We've also learned from sources that there were some sort of documents that were with this person that is, again, brought in for questioning at this moment. And they're still going through all of those paperwork to figure out exactly what is said in those documents. But again, these are significant developments in this case, in this manhunt that has stretched far past New York City limits. And now we know that someone is in custody. Someone is being questioned with authorities right now in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and John, let's go to you. You have so much of this excellent reporting. Add to the color and the context and the information that Bryn just started to give us.
So, Dana, this starts as a very routine day in a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which has like 3 McDonald's. But an employee there looks at this person and has been seeing on CNN and everywhere else these photos from the NYPD of this masked person with the hood where they're saying, look beyond New York, because we think the person has left the city. And she believes that this person resembles the photos that have been put out. She calls 911, gets the Altoona PD. They respond to the McDonald's. They engage this individual. And as they get him to identify himself and look through things, they find a gun, they find a silencer, they find multiple false IDs. And when they begin to compare those notes with the police in New York, they find out that one of those IDs matches the name, perhaps even the one we're looking at, that he used a fake New Jersey driver's license to check into that hostel in Upper Manhattan. So along with all of that, there are some documents that the police said seem to be relevant to this case. I think we would stop short right now because we don't have enough information of calling that a manifesto. But we are told by investigators they believe he's carrying documents that may relate to motive.
Okay, I understand you're saying stop short now with regard to those documents because obviously this is an ongoing investigation, as your former ilk used to say, John Miller. But talk about this with regard to the decision that police made. It was on Friday that we were talking shortly after the police decided to, in your words, crowdsource and put the picture of this individual out publicly. We don't know yet if this is the guy, but if it is, that tactic was the game changer.
Well, it was. And I mean, it hangs on a couple of things. One, finally being able, after this massive video canvas, using so many detectives, to find that single moment, and you're looking at it right now, that single moment where he dropped the mask, he still had the hood on, and you could see that face and $1 million smile as he was talking to that hotel clerk at the hostel and asking people, if you know this person, if you see this face, no matter where you are in the country, we're looking for that call. So that worked today.
And John, with regard to the documents and the motive, is there anything else that your sources are leaning into? We know that, first of all, the bullet casing, which you talked about again last week, with some etchings on them suggesting the idea that this could be related to the United CEO's job and the idea that it is health insurance, which is not exactly a popular industry right now. And then, of course, what happened over the weekend with the backpack that was found in Central Park and monopoly money inside.
So the bullets had the writing on them: deny, delay, depose. Theoretically, these are the 3 Ds that critics use against the insurance industry when they say they're trying to slow down payments on claims and fight those with members of their customer base. So that's one, the monopoly money, perhaps a sign of greed. But when you look at what does this mean today, they have a person in custody. They're questioning that person. They have a gun. They have multiple false IDs, including one that may be relevant. So if you take that together and then say, what does the NYPD have to bring to this? They have DNA recovered from a water bottle that the suspect bought in a Starbucks, and a power bar that they recovered parts of or the wrappers of, and a phone where they have a viable fingerprint. So that's a lot of forensic evidence that they can run against the fingerprints of the individual in custody, the DNA that they will get a search warrant to get from him if he doesn't give it voluntarily. And if in fact he's carrying documents that relate to this, a weapon that may be matched ballistically to the things that were recovered at the scene, including the shell casings and the bullets, this could come together very quickly, fairly quickly, and very solidly in terms of evidence.
I don't want to lose sight of the most important thing that you're reporting was found on this person, which is a gun. I mean,
that's
that
right.
could be the
and I
ballgame.
mean, we talk about the smoking gun. If this gun is ballistically matched to this crime, then the rest of the evidence, will surround that. But that's going to be something that they can determine within a high degree of certainty in a relatively short time. And I mean, one thing we're not mentioning here is there's a citizen involved here who had the care to look at those photos, to look at that individual, to probably compare them right there. I mean, imagine someone looking at their phone, looking at that customer, and making that call, which also means that if our reporting is correct that it's a McDonald's employee, they are eligible for this $50,000 reward from the FBI and $10,000 from the NYPD.
Quite a story, absolutely, if this just does pan out to be the actual alleged suspect. Don't go anywhere, John. Stay close. I want to bring now into the conversation senior law enforcement analyst Charles Ramsey and retired FBI agent Dan Bruner. Commissioner Ramsey, let me just start with you. What are your thoughts on all of this information that we've gotten so far, and what does it tell you?
Well, this could be very significant. There's no question about that. And I agree with everything that John said earlier. A couple things. Number one, the fact that the photograph was put out across the country, and even though the person's face was partially concealed, it was still enough there for people to kind of get a sense or a feel for what this individual might look like. And kudos to that employee at McDonald's who looked at this individual and then called 911. Normally we don't think we're going to be the ones to solve anything as a private citizen. If you see something, you say, it's probably not the person. But this individual acted, and it may turn out to be the absolute right thing to do. The other thing is the recovery of a gun. Now we have forensic evidence from the scene. We have shell casings, we have DNA, we have fingerprints. All these things, if they match up, then this is the person who's responsible that's going to be charged with this particular crime. So there's still a lot of work that has to take place, but this is a significant development, no question about it, and we'll see how it plays out.
Chief Ramsey, thank you for that. Dan Brunner, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Chief Ramsey and with John. One of the most important things in this investigation definitely was putting the photograph, the information out there, because you're multiplying the number of people that are looking for this individual. Clearly was on the run. He had a step or two ahead on NYPD, and they were behind him, gathering all the evidence. But the crucial part was getting him, getting some eyes on him. And the McDonald's employee should absolutely be applauded that they made the phone call, even if they had the suspicion that an individual matched the description of the suspect. That's the job of law enforcement. In my fugitive investigations, I've had countless number of people who called in a tip that it didn't turn out to be anything, but at least we had tips coming in. Eventually, the right tip comes in, and we've captured fugitives at the FBI just like this, just having someone who randomly looks across the counter and says, that sort of resembles the suspect. Let me call 911, let law enforcement handle it, and that was the right thing to do.